People that ask scholars questions will fall into 4 categories. This is a really useful wisdom for those, especially those who teach. Mustashidun, the one who's actually seeking rushd, right? They're seeking to know something. Wajibun ala al-alami tilalatuhu. The alim has to point him in the right direction. وَعَلَامَةُ ذَلِكَ فِي السَّائِلِ قَبُولُهُ وَتَسْلِيمُهُ. The sign of this is that he accepts it and resigns himself to it. This is the muqallid. Somebody who's not, they're just looking for guidance. They're not like a scholar. And if they're asking a valid scholar, the sign that they're mustashid, that this is their maqam, their station, is that they accept it and are resigned to it. Thank you. The next one is mustafhim. This is a student of knowledge. He's trying to understand something. Wajibun ala al-alimi hidayatuhu. The scholar has to guide him. وَعَلَامَةُ ذَلِكَ فِي السَّائِلِ بَحْثُهُ بِالرِّفْقِ وَطَرَبُ الدَّلِيلِ بِالْوَقَارِ. And the sign of this is that he's seeking it gently, and he's requesting from you a dalil with respect. He's dignified in his request. He's not saying, like some people say, ma daliluka? What's your dalil? Right? That's a whole other attitude. And so you have to answer that one. وَعَلَامَةُ ذَلِكَ بَحْثُهُ بِالرِّفْقِ وَطَرَبُ الدَّلِيلِ بِالْوَقَارِ وَمُسْتَخْبِرٌ. And then there's people that are just trying to get information. Right? وَاجِبٌ عَلَى الْإِمَامِ الْإِعْرَاضُ عَنْهُ. The imam should be wary of this one. وَالتَّنَزُّهُ عَنَ الْجِدَالِ وَالْخُصُومَةِ وَالتَّعْرِيضِ بِاللَّهِ وَبِرَسُولِهِ وَبِأَئِمَّةِ الدِّينِ لِلرَّدِّ عَلَيْهِمْ وَالتَّكْذِيبِ لَهُمْ. Because these people, they're just there to argue. They want argumentation. They also want to try to expose the words of Allah and the Messenger and the Imams of our religion in order to refute them. That's what they're looking for, is to refute them. These are like Islamophobes and people like that who study and ask questions. And what they're really trying to find out is just information in order to attack the religion. And then he says, and the last one, maftunun bid-da'wa. This is somebody who he's being tried with a kind of claim. He sees himself as more than he actually is. Mustadrajun birru'yati lihalihi. Mustadraj is the one who's yastadrijuhum Allah. These are people that Allah takes by degrees. They become deluded in themselves. So this is somebody who thinks that he's something, and he's really studying to puff himself up. And he says about him, wajibun al alim as-samtu anhu. Just leave him alone. Just these people they have ibtila. Just leave him alone. ونقل الإمام الماوردي إن قوما تحققوا بالعلم تحقق المتكلفين. And Imam al-Mawardi, the great Shafi'i scholar, he related that some people mastered knowledge, a type of contrived mastery. The takallafu, they learned it with takalluf. وَاشْتَهَرُوا بِهِ اشْتِهَارًا مُنْحَرِفِينَ. And they became notorious for it with a notoriety of being deviants. وَإِذَا أَخَذُوا فِي الْمُنَاظَرَةِ ظَهَرَ كَلَامُهُم. When they start to argue, you see quickly what they're really about. And there's a lot of people like this. وَإِذَا سُئِلُوا عَنْ وَاضِحِ الْمَذْهَبِ ضَلَّتْ أَفْهَمُهُمْ حَتَّى أَنَّهُمْ يَتَخَبَّطُونَ فِي الْجَوَابِ خَبْطَ عَشْوَاءٍ فَلَا يَظْهَرُ لَهُمْ صَوَابٌ وَلَا يَتَقَرَّرُ مِنْهُمْ جَوَابٌ ولا يرون ذلك نقصا إذا لفقوا على المخالف حججا مألوفة وهم قد جهلوا من المذهب ما يعلمه المبتدئ. So these are people that they really don't know true knowledge, and you find these people, they learn certain verses that they always ask, like, what do you say about وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهِ? What do you say about those who don't give the... I was with Sheikh Sawi and somebody asked him, يا شيخ ماذا تقول في قوله تعالى ومن لم يحكم بما أنزل الله فأولئك هم الكافرون. And this is somebody who just wants to say that the hukam of the Muslims are kafirs because they don't implement the Sharia. That's what they want to make takfir of the rulers. So Sheikh Sawi said, could you tell me the ayah before it so I can know the context? He couldn't. He said, can you tell me the ayah after it? He couldn't. He was just exposing him, you know. And then he said, what do you do? What's your job? He said, I'm an auto mechanic. He said, أصلح السيارات أصلحك الله. You know, fix cars, may Allah fix you. You know. And so that's what he's saying, that there's people that learn these things, but if you actually ask them basic questions about the school of fiqh, they don't know, and they يتخبطون في الجواب, they're kind of lost in their answers, like the blind, just night blinded animal. فلا يظهر لهم صواب. The correctness doesn't come from them, and they don't really have the proper answer. لا يرون ذلك نقصا, but they still don't see this as a deficiency, because لفقوا على المخالف حجج مألوفة. They contrive trite answer proofs, to kind of attack them. So they've got their little hackneyed proofs because they read their little book on the Khilafah or something like that, and this is and so they've got their responses, or some book on Aqidah to attack people that have an Aqidah that differs from them. And then he says, وَهُمْ قَدْ يَهِرُوا مِنَ الْمَذْهَبِ مَا يَعْلَمُونَ مُبْتَدِئ. They're ignorant of even the most basic things in a school of fiqh that even a tyro would know. وقالوا أبو درداء لا تتعلموا العلم لتتجملوا به فإنه يوشك إن طال بكم عمره أن يتجمل أحدكم بعلمه كما يتجمل ذو البزة ببزته. Abu Darda, the great Sahabi radiallahu anhu, said, do not learn this knowledge to adorn yourselves with it, because the time is coming soon. If you live long enough, you will see people learning this knowledge to adorn themselves with it, like somebody adorns himself with some fancy suit. Put it on. It's just an outward thing. It has no inward reality, like the suit adorns your body, but there's nothing under that suit other than nakedness. ونقل ابن أبي زيد في صدر مختصره, Ibn Abi Zayd al-Qayrawani, in his abridged book of fiqh, قال نبينا من تعلم العلم ليباهي به أو ليرائي به. He's this must be another riwayah. أوقفه الله موقف الظلم وجعله عليه حسرة يوم القيامة. It's ليباهي به العلماء أو ليرائي به السفهاء. Like just to show off to scholars and things like that. Allah will put him in a humiliated place and make this regret and remorse on the Day of Judgment. ولا يقال هذه الآفة من قراءة العلم. It should not be said that this is some fault in actually studying. إنما هي من خبث الدخيلة. It really relates to the sickness of the person who's studying. It's not the fault of the knowledge, it's the fault of the one learning. كالمنافق يقرأ القرآن, like a hypocrite who reads the Quran. And then he says, ولذلك قال ربيعة لا تعلم العلم سفهاءكم فيصرف أخلاقهم فيه. Don't teach this knowledge to idiots, to fools, because they will do their foolishness with the knowledge, so the knowledge gets attributed to that foolishness. So don't teach the fools this knowledge, because their bad character, they'll express their bad character knowing this knowledge, and people will associate it with this. قال وهب ابن منبه العلم كالغيث ينزل من السماء حلوا صافيا فتشربه الأشجار فتحوره على قدر طعومها يزداد المر مرارة والحلو حلاوة. This knowledge is like rain that comes down from the heaven. It's pure, and then the foliage, the trees drink it in. They take that water and then they transform that water based on their nature. So if they're sweet trees, then that water is transformed into a sweet fruit. But if they're bitter, it's transmitted into something bitter. So this is how knowledge is. Depending on your tree, whether you're sweet or bitter, is going to be how that knowledge manifests in you. So that shows you who you are. It's not the knowledge, it's you. فالقائل أعوذ بالله من العلم يضاهي من يقول أعوذ بالله من الغيث. So the one who says, I seek refuge in knowledge, and unfortunately we have people like that. There's a type of, there's a type of people in deviated forms of Sufism that really belittle knowledge and say, that's outward knowledge. The fuqaha, these people don't listen to the fuqaha. The Sufiya, they know the real thing. They've tasted the true thing. They have the inner knowledge. That outward knowledge is just a hijab. It's a veil from God. That's a shaitan, Iblis saying that. So to say, I seek refuge from knowledge is like saying, I seek refuge from rain. قال الشاطبي. This is an amazing statement by Shatibi. أجاز النظار أن يتصور الاجتهاد في الشريعة من غير المسلم. The theorist of our religion deemed it conceptually possible that a non-Muslim could reach the level of ijtihad. Amazing statement. Amazing statement. There's a hadith that the Prophet said the end of time won't come until the kafir will argue with the Muslim with the words of his religion. يجادل المنافق الكافر المشرك المؤمن بما يقول. He'll argue with him with the very same things that he says. So they'll learn the religion to argue against the religion. ومن الأحياء أدركنا الشيوخ وهم يتعوذون بالله من الفاجر العالم بالسنة. In the Ihya, he said, our teachers, they used to seek refuge in Allah from scholars that were profligates, that didn't practice the Sunnah. وروى ابن ماجه بسند جيد قيل متى يترك الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر. And in Ibn Majah it says, when should we stop doing Amr bin Ma'ruf and Nahi an Munkar? He said, إِذَا ظَهَرَ الْإِتِّهَانُ فِي خِيَارِكُمْ وَالْفِقْهُ فِي أَرَادِلِكُمْ. When you see cajolery and you see flattery in the best of you, they're just flattering each other, they never, and you see fiqh in the worst of you, the despicable, amongst the lowest segment of society. At that time, there's no point in Amr bin Ma'ruf and Nahi an al-Munkar. وقال ربيعة لا تعلموا العلم سفهاءكم فيصرف أخلاقهم فيه. He repeated that. وقد تقدم قول ابن وهب قال مكحول بفقه الرعاء فساد الدنيا وبفقه السفرة فساد الدين. With the fiqh of the rabble is the ruin of the world. And with the fiqh of degraded people is the ruin of the religion. So when the rabble are, suddenly the rabble know everything, right? When they've got all the religious rulings, they don't listen to the ulama who tell them, don't do this. They say, no, we know better than you. The deen is destroyed. Right? Seriously. It's like revolutionaries. The ulama say, don't do this. What do you know? If the fiqh is in the ra'a, that's fasad dunya. It's ruinous for the world. And when it's in the degraded people, then it destroys the religion. وكان سفيان إذا رأى هؤلاء القبط أو القبط يكتبون العلم يتغير وجهه فقيل له في ذلك فقال كان العلم في سادات الناس فإذا خرج وصار إلى هؤلاء السفرة غير الدين. Sufyan saw, and I'm going to assume this is Coptic, because that's Qibt, or Qubt is a Coptic. When he saw some of the Coptic people studying the religion, he got upset about it, his face changed, and they asked him about that. He said, this knowledge was in the best people. If it goes down to people then the religion is going to be changed. وهكذا كما قيل لا يخون أمين ولكن إذا اؤتمن الخائن خان. And like that it said, the trustworthy one will not be treacherous. But if a treacherous one is given a trust, he'll be treacherous. ونقل عياض في مداركه تقديم من أخر الله وتأخير من قدم الله فتنة في الأرض وفساد كبير. That putting forward those who Allah has put behind or delayed, like when you have an imam and you put forward somebody who's got a good voice, but they're not a faqih, and the faqih is not put forward. So that's like taqdeem and ta'khir, it's inappropriate. Because the Prophet said at the end of time won't come to people put forward imams just to hear a beautiful voice. They're not really fuqaha, they just want to hear them yataqanna bil Quran.